Hola, hola, hola. Welcome to another episode of Mujer de Éxito Unbounded. This is a podcast for the Mujer-Preneur where we get raw and real about going from surviving to thriving in our life and our negocios. Bienvenidas. Yo soy Marti Angel, Latina Biz Coach, also known as the Empowering Latina Coach, y yo soy su anfitriona para este show. I am your host for this show. Let me just remind you, though, that there are no coincidences in this world. There's no other reason other than you are meant to hear the message today. That's why you are here today. So I invite you to sit back, open your mind, open your heart to allow yourself to be empowered, motivated, and moved into action as you listen today. Quiero recordarles que no hay coincidencias en este mundo. Este mensaje que vas a escuchar hoy es porque lo debes de escuchar. Este es mensaje para ti. Again, I am Marti Angel, and I just want to remind you que a veces hablamos español, sometimes we speak Spanglish, and sometimes we speak English. But as a Latina Biz Coach, it is my passion to work with the underserved, underprivileged, and underrepresented. But it is my purpose, mujeres, to help you, the Latina, bilingual, and BIPOC mujerpreneur, gain clarity and focus on who you serve so you can up-level from brick and mortar to click and order and to begin to rock your six figures so that you can live your best life. I would love to be your coach, but today we have a message for you. Este podcast es para la mujer emprendedora donde nos ponemos reales acerca de lo que hemos pasado, sobrevivido y prosperado para salir adelante en nuestra vida y en nuestros negocios. Hoy este mensaje es para ti. So let's get to it. Hoy vamos a escuchar este mensaje. Vamos de una vez. I'm frozen in real life. And we are live. We are live. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome to a redo of Mujer de Éxito Unbounded. You're watching us here live. You get to see all the bloopers. I'm so excited, incredibly excited for each and every one of you, the listeners, the actual viewers. But today on Mujer de Éxito Unbounded, Woman of Success Without Limits, I am so thankful that I get to interview and share the microphone with so many beautiful women, mujerpreneurs. You know, my name is Marti Angel. I am the host for Mujer de Éxito Unbounded, and I am so incredibly grateful. Today, I have a special guest. But as a Latina Biz Coach, what do? People ask me all the time. So let me just share that what I do is I empower and I work with Latina mujerpreneurs, bilingual and BIPOC women, and I help them gain clarity and focus on who they serve so they can up-level from brick and mortar to click and order and begin to rock those six figures, right? Because we all know that 5 figures is real different than 6 figures. So gracias por estar aquí. Today, let me share that I have the most amazing woman. So I went on to her TikTok, and I was only going to ask about a couple of TikToks, and then I got pulled in because this woman is amazing. She is an actress, and she is a photographer. She is a mujerpreneur, and she is a beautiful, beautiful example of what it's like to be a woman entrepreneur. Let me welcome Shadi Ameri. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Marti, for having me. I'm so grateful and honored. I appreciate it.
Thank you. You don't mind if I ask you a few questions, and maybe there might be a point where we get a little vulnerable. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Great. I would love for you to share a point in time when you were surviving, that point at which you started from surviving. Because right now I know you're thriving. You're a great actress. You're a great photographer. You're doing some really great things to help women. And there was a point in time when you were surviving. Can you tell us a little bit about that, just so that we can hear your side?
Absolutely, I would love to share that. My whole goal and point, as you are doing right now, is empowering women. So anything we can do to help with that, I would be gladly happy to help and share. My story is, I, I think, at the point that I transitioned basically from surviving to thriving is after it took a quite long time because of my day job. So that was the block for me that was taking my focus and my time and energy. So at the time that I made the decision to finally jump and let go and trust and keep going, that's when I started thriving. It's scary because I had to let go of my steady paycheck and what I'm used to and the easy way. So always the jump is hard, but when you do it, then it will all fall in place. It's a struggle, it's hard, and it's a lot of dedication and basically commitment. But if you keep on going, it will happen. And
Mm,
so that
mm.
was basically 2016 when I finally decided to jump and go for it and not be scared and trust. And that was, you know, when it
Y-
all happened.
But you were going through also, besides the job arena, you were going through something more personal, were you not?
I see. Yes. Um, yes. Basically, there's a lot of obstacles that happens along the way, and some of them would be personal for us. Um, I went through a very bad breakup with my ex-boyfriend. That was back in 2013. um, I was shooting weddings and I had to put a smile on my face and go shoot other people's weddings while my own dream, after 5 years of being with him to get married and be together, went down the drain. So you
Mm,
cannot let anything get in your way,
mm,
um, especially your personal stuff. Um, you just have to make the damn decision that I want to grow and I want to be someone and just keep on going. So it's a lot of dedication for sure. Oh, Marty, you are froze.
froze. We froze.
We froze
And
again.
okay, so am I unfrozen?
Yes, you're unfrozen.
That's the beauty about doing this, right? But sometimes your internet is still, okay, but we'll keep going. So
I thought with the things I said, you were just shocked.
It was like, okay, so that's, but it, the voice was still going through. So that was really good. But so when we rip the audio, that's going to be really good. But let me ask you this. You were going through a lot of things. And so was that the inspirational point at which, when you finally looked at you got rid of a bad relationship and then, had some time to recover, and then the only other block at that point in time was your job, and then you got rid of that, but what was that? What were you thinking? What was that one point in time where it was like, okay, ya basta, as we say in Spanish, no more, this is it? What was that one thing?
um, the one thing is the desire of wanting to be someone and being ambitious. I think that's the inspiration for me. The one
Mm,
thing for me was the desire. Like,
mm,
I I am not going to be just stuck at one point and follow a routine every day. That's not what I want for myself.
ah,
I want a life that I can be someone and be inspiration for other people, and help other people, to thrive as well. That's
mm,
what I wanted. And that desire for me was what kept me going. I've always been an ambitious person.
mm,
Um,
mm.
so for me, that's what kept me going.
That's amazing. So now let me ask you. So you actually covered how you kind of overcame those obstacles, and it sounded like you mentally were very driven. So internally, it sounds like you're a very driven person. But I would like to ask you, what has been the most significant risk that you have taken in your business now? And you can make that twofold, because you're in the business of acting, and my goodness, that takes a lot of courage. And as we say,
Yes.
a lot of chutzpah. And even though that's not really your quote unquote business, it is your business, because actress, so is very, I would say, very much an individual thing, right?
Right.
So at what point would you say was the most significant setback in your photography, and then one in your share one with your acting?
A setback. Um, Honestly, the setbacks would be, just the obstacles, and whatever happens, in life that you can't even, imagine how you can manage to, um, stay strong and keep going, and um, um, I don't know exactly. The setback, for me was, yeah, just, dealing with my daily life, and taking care of my family and my own personal life, and sometimes you really feel overwhelmed trying to deal with everything, and you have to do your own booking and marketing, and shooting and editing, and your auditions, and keep a smile on your face and keep going, and then, you have your family you have to take care of, even my dog, or it sometimes, honestly, I feel like I am just giving and giving, and, I just want to just put the covers on my head, and just go to bed, and not hear or see anything, and just run away. So those days will happen, of
Right.
course, but, As again, I mentioned, the desire is what keeps you going. Uh,
Right.
we all have different obstacles and setbacks in life, but if you have the desire that I'm not going to take the easy way out and settle, that's when you will grow.
Mm, beautiful words. Let me ask you another question then, because I've seen you and I know you, on a we're getting to know each other better on a personal level. And
Mhm.
most recently, just this week, I texted you and you said, "Oh my gosh, I went to the doctor and I have strep." And I'm thinking, I would have been flat. I would have been flat. And yet here we are. That was Monday. And here we are on Friday. And you look amazing. And
Thank
you
you.
know, and you stood up and you keep going. And it reminds me so much of the old adage that says the show must go on. I was a professional dancer, and I remember being 4 years old, and my mother and I was throwing up, and my mother said, "Do you sure you want to go?" Because I had a performance and I was the lead dancer, and I was 4 years old, the lead dancer. And I remember so clearly we had to drive, from here Chula Vista across the border to the big stage that it was going to be on. My mom says, "Are you sure you want to go?" And I said, "Yes," because my dance teacher, I remember so clearly, he used to say, "The show must go on." Right.
Right,
And
right.
so my mom had to pull over twice so I could throw up. And
Oh,
then she would, wipe but I did it. I went on. And then mostly that's how I see you, because it's like, oh my God, she's down. She's got strep. This is, it's not easy to have strep throat. And yet,
right.
here you are. So
Yes,
let me ask you, is that your modus of operandus? Is that how you operate your daily life? You have a goal and you keep going. Is that what you do?
absolutely. As you mentioned this morning, I woke up. You should have seen me there. Then I called my mom and I was like, "This is what people should see." and, and as an actress, this is terrible. So we were laughing together. But I took a shower, and I did my hair and I put on my makeup. As long as I don't have fever, I can function. And I have school tonight, so I probably shouldn't go. But that's exactly. I just keep on going because
Yeah,
I love what I do. As you said, like you were
right.
a kid and you were throwing up, but you still wanted to go because you loved dancing. It's not like, oh, I have to go do this. I remember my girlfriend was telling me, when is your school gonna be over? Your acting school? I'm like, never. And she's like, oh my god, like you go to class every Friday from 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. and you get home by after midnight and it never will end. I'm like, it's not like I'm going to a class and sitting and listening to a teacher. Like this is what I love doing.
Yeah.
It's my passion to go to class. I look forward to it every week. I'm sick, but I still want to go. So I totally get it.
So it sounds like your acting
Yes,
it feeds you emotionally, and it feeds your psyche, and in a sense it's almost like it's feeding you a self-love, if you will.
right.
And I think that would be the key when
Mm-hmm.
we think about starting our own business, or whatever it is, because I believe that you can be an employee-preneur, where if you have the right employment and they let you grow, then and you have the autonomy to do things, you can be what I call an employee-preneur, right? I
Right.
know that that would be like you hiring somebody, I would think,
Mhm.
that you don't have to, maybe an assistant, that you don't have to tell them exactly what it is, but they're like one step ahead of you. That's what I would, and they make your life so
Easy.
much better. That's what I would call an employee-preneur.
Yes.
And, but let me ask you now, let's go back into the target audience, right? How
Uh-huh.
did you go about finding your target audience in your photography business?
My target audience are mostly women in their 40s and 50s and 60s, my own age, from the same around the same age range, because that's where my passion and desire is, to help women, empower them. I've realized women in their 40s and up really forget about themselves. Like, they get to a point that they put themselves last so much, and everything else became more the priority, that suddenly they're like, oh my God, I don't feel good enough about myself anymore. I
Mhm.
don't feel sexy enough. I don't feel beautiful enough. I
Mm.
like to bring them in and give them a transformational hair and makeup and photo shoot and show them, you're wrong. You better see yourself in a whole new level, because that's going to keep you going. When you feel good about yourself, you feel good about yourself, and vice versa. And when you don't, you're not happy, you don't feel good about yourself, that reflects on the other aspects of your life, your relationship, your children, your work. It's all connected together. And I started my acting career in my 40s.
Yay.
So I wanted that to be an inspiration, my voice to be out there, and show all the women. Um, it's so interesting when I see them, when they're in my studio and they get their hair and makeup done, and then they look themselves in the mirror like, oh my God, this is a different person. I'm like, so why don't you do this every day? Why do you have to wait for a photo shoot or something? It doesn't have to be to this professional and extreme, but why don't you take care of yourself? This should be like a wake up call.
Mm.
Like,
Mhm.
I can do this. I can, um, basically, um, the way you see yourself, it's like that's what I do. I awaken that in them.
You
Uh,
do.
right. So I love that. That's my passion.
Yeah.
It,
And it shows as for the listeners. So I am, firsthand, I reached out to Shadi. I was at a point in my life where it was like, okay, I needed some headshots done, but instead I found Shadi, or she found me. But there are no coincidences in this world. But what I experienced, what I would say that you share is you create an experience. It is not like, okay, everybody, I remember where my parents used to, or I was when I was a young mom, dressing everybody up, running over to the mall, getting those pictures taken, and quick, 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 because we have another family after you, and then you get out it's almost like you feel slapped around, and you're not even happy with the pictures, right? And
yes.
so to be honest, the I felt so different with you. You created an ambiance. You create an experience. So I would probably put behind the fact that you do photography, you do what's called a photographic experience, because it is an experience.
Yes.
And so now let me ask you, what goes through your head when you know that you have a customer coming in to do a photo shoot with you? What goes through your head? How do you go from point A to to point B with getting prepped to get it all ready?
We first start with a consultation so I can meet with them in person or on the phone or Zoom or however it works. I can basically understand and learn more about them. So we do the consultation first. When they come over and while they're getting their hair and makeup done, again, I'm not working. I haven't started my work yet, but it's not like I'm not working because in my head I'm creating the art and what I see, how I want to create this picture for this person. And so when they're ready and they get in front of my camera, I warm them up with basically about 5, 6 minutes. It takes time until they warm up in front of the camera. And I guide them through the whole process. I make them feel comfortable. That's very important because I don't like posy shots. I mostly like to capture them in their most natural, um, you know, body and facial expression. That's where I get my magic shots. And I retouch my photos myself. Most photographers, they send it after, they're too busy. They just send it to the retoucher. I have to do it myself. Even in all these years, I've been doing photography for 13 years. I've sent them to retouchers, but again, at the end, there has to be my touch.
Mm.
There is something about the retouching that I have to do myself. Your pictures and the way I retouch yours is different from another lady. They're not cookie cut, put in my laptop, my Photoshop, and being retouched all the same. Every person, it's going to be different because their style is different, their aura is different, their colors are different, so the retouching needs to be different. It doesn't
Mm.
work for another person. So that's how
Mm.
I operate. When I'm behind the camera, I don't just click the shutter quickly, tick 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 tick. Okay, move here, move, do that, do this. I really take my time to pose and direct you to,
Mm.
so
Yeah, and like I said before, everybody, if you're listening to her and you need shots, or even if you don't need them, this woman creates an experience. I've gone through her experience. It was amazing. I wish I could do it every year, but or even more, but she creates the experience. And not because I like to be photographed, because I'll be honest with you, you know, I'm not. I'm not the type of person that likes to be photographed a lot, and that's just me. Even though I was photographed a lot because I was on stage dancing, right? So, and then I was an educator, and so I've always been in front of people. I'm a speaker, but they catch me without me knowing it, I guess. But
yes.
when I did the photography with you, it was an experience, as I say. It's an experience that was, for me, very warm. I came home with a smile. My husband was happy. It was a self-care
Nah,
day for me. And
so happy to hear that.
yes. And so I have a question, because this is important as an entrepreneur, as a mujerpreneur.
Hmm.
You are, you are a caretaker for mom. You are a, photographer. You are an actress. You are a mom to a fur baby. How do you balance how do you balance, and what would you suggest and offer to our listeners who think about all the things they have to do, and then they feel like they have to compartmentalize themselves? What words of advice would you give to somebody? How do you balance your life? How would you advise them?
For me, writing down my to-do list really helps. I every morning I have a to-do list, and I prioritize. If there's an appointment, obviously that's something you cannot move around. Oh, it has to be done. But always take care of yourself. Always. If you need a break, like for me, I like playing the piano. This is my new hobby that I'm learning how to play the piano. It
Yay.
makes me so happy when I see my piano and I'm like, oh, I want to practice this song now. So let me get this done. And then it's something I look forward to. So always have some kind of hobby or passion that makes you happy. Don't rely on people. Like my I don't know. A lot of people like to just they feel lonely if they're not with people, if they're not going out, they're not around people, they feel lonely, they feel depressed. I'm not like that. I uh, I created so much joy in my own world. Like I prefer playing the piano, and learning something, or in my acting, and I'm writing a movie, Marty. I'm
Ah,
writing my own movie. Yes, so
all
that's
right. I'll be an extra in yours.
I'm so excited about that. So, um, not that I don't, have friends or hang out with people, but I do have my own things that I'm passionate about. So taking care of yourself does fall in that category. When I'm learning a new song, that's taking care of my mental health.
Mm,
It's just it's like it feeds my soul, as you said.
mm. Yes. Let me then ask you, let's say one of my listeners would like to begin to get started perhaps in the acting, and
Hmm.
then maybe they want maybe there's somebody that's been thinking about starting photography. So what would you say to each one of them? What would be the first steps that you could share with both of them?
Sure. So let's start with photography. So not necessarily you need to go to school for photography. I actually do have an ebook online that I talked about all the how I started, what's important to know, a little bit of the business part of it, and everything. So I can share the link with you
Oh
if that would
yeah.
be helpful for people. But just get a camera. It doesn't have to be an expensive camera, because an expensive camera or lens is not going to make you a good photographer. Just like a very expensive pen, or it's not going to make you a writer. You know, an expensive car is not going to make you a racer.
Right.
You have to understand and exercise your eye, learn composition, learn lighting, learn how to take beautiful photographs, and learn all the tricks. But you can even do that with your phone. I've
Yeah.
seen that all the time these days. Back when I started, there were not, good cameras on the phones. Just get a camera and go out there and practice and try different things and learn lighting and learn reflection of light and posing and angles and all that. So the first thing I recommend is doing that.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay.
And
Great.
as far as acting, um, again, take a workshop,
Mm,
take an acting class. um, see, like, it's just in art, honestly, it's just all practice and exercise, you know. The more you do it, then the more you learn about yourself, um, and the more you will find your own style and niche.
Mm.
When I started photography, I was lost. I didn't know what type. I started with weddings. I didn't like it. I started, I was like, okay, maybe I don't want to do photograph people. I want to photograph uh, products. So I
Mm.
bought a softbox. I made a perfume look incredible, or,
Yeah.
and then I was like, yeah, but not really. So you just have to find your own niche and your
Mm.
own style. Then you become the artist that when everyone sees your one of your work, they would say, "Oh, that's Shadi's. Oh,
Mm.
that's Marty's." They
Mhm.
can
Mhm.
tell from your style, from
Mhm.
the way you do it.
Right.
The way you take pictures is going to be different from mine.
Right.
We're going to be completely have different styles.
Right. Great. And so those are two good things. Let me just reiterate for the listeners. You're going to give us an ebook, but get out there, get started, buy either buy a very inexpensive camera if you need to. If not, use your phone and begin to take classes, acting classes, and workshops and things like that, and get started learning. As an educator, I would say the same thing. Get
Yeah.
started doing things. But I want to say something. You said something. Everybody's style is so different, and I think that's so important for us as entrepreneurs to remind everybody that we don't have to be that other person.
Hmm.
We don't have to be that person that we see, doing 20 million photographies, 20 million acting, never compare yourself. Always remember that what you have is very personal.
Yes, yes.
And I want to share it real quick, and then I'd like for you to share if this has ever happened. So, you were speaking right now about your individuality as a photographer and as a whatever it is that you are. As a teacher, there were many of us that were yoga teachers. There were many of us that were algebra teachers. There were many of us that were teaching whatever subject it was. But at the end of the day, you bring that individuality into your classroom, into whatever it is that you're doing. And if you remember that it's what comes from the heart, I think is makes you that brand, if you will.
Mhm.
I didn't even realize I was creating a brand. For example, the way that I was teaching algebra,
Mhm.
it was just the way that I could communicate with students. And I loved to see the light go on in their head when they were like, oh, I went from hating math to liking math. And then pretty soon, one day I was walking around the campus, and these two young ladies were speaking to each other, and one of them says, oh, I don't understand this question. It was an algebraic question. And the young lady that was in my class said to me, oh no, excuse me, said to the other young lady, oh, let me show you how to do it. And so I was just kind of standing back to kind of be trolling, right? And she helped her. And the other girl said, um, I I heard about that. I heard about this method. It's Professor Marty's method, isn't it? And it was like and it was like, wow, I created a brand without even knowing I was creating a brand, right?
Yes.
So
See,
that individuality is what you has that
absolutely.
ever happened to you?
Yes, like in acting, you have to have your own. You the characters they give you. Uh, you're gonna bring your own personality and play that character. That's what makes it so unique. So
Mm,
we both will audition for the same thing, but it's my personality or your personality that they will choose over one or over the other
mm,
because of the individuality that they, the person
mm.
brings in. So absolutely, that
One last question I have for you. And how do you stay motivated day in and day out?
oh my gosh, Marty, that's a very good question. um how do I stay motivated? It's the drive. It's like I want to be there, so I have to keep on going, you know. It's how do I stay motivated is just that, seeing that picture, and it's like I'm just running towards that picture. I want to be there. So yeah, it's exhausting. It is, but that happens for all the ambitious people. That they're driven, they want to go forward. They don't
Mm,
want to just settle in life and have a routine.
right.
That's boring to me. I can't do that. Yeah.
I know, I hear you.
Yeah.
Shadi, I would like to just, in wrapping this up, I would just like to ask you, what advice do you have for the listeners? Any advice, whether it's about your business, whether it's about your life, what would you like them, what would you give to them?
My advice, honestly, that I learned in life the hard way was to only rely on myself. Um, that way you won't get disappointed, you
Mm,
know. Don't expect anything from anyone. Um, like I was thinking, um, if you'd asked me, um, how do you like find your target audience or anything like that, I would respond to you just putting my best work out there with love is what got me today, that I'm on your podcast,
hmm.
because you liked me and my work and my personality, and that's how it all, falls in place. So back to your question, um just be who you are, do what you love to do, and just rely on yourself. um
Hmm.
that's
Really,
Yeah,
really
if I
excellent
would look,
advice.
yeah, sorry to cut you off. If I would say, "Oh, Marty, would you put me on your podcast?" It's like I'm relying on you for the growth of my business. And then you
Mm,
might say no, and I get disappointed. But when I just don't expect anything from anyone, do the best I'm doing with love, then that opens an energy, and that you, as this amazing successful women that are helping other women, you're like, oh, I wanna interview Shadi,
hmm.
you know
Yeah,
so
so I'm always looking for successful women. I'm always looking like,
yes.
oh, whenever we go out, my husband and I, we're always Ooh, she would be really good at my podcast. Ooh, that would be, and my goal is to right now at least have one new person every month, work my way up to have two beautiful guests a month. And the more that I can share everybody's story, the more that, I can bring awareness to us women of culture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Shadi, thank you so much
Sure.
for, coming on and redoing this podcast because the stream that we had last time wasn't great. But thank you so much. I want to encourage everybody to go check out her TikTok. It's Shadi Ameri. You're going to see her there. Her TikTok is amazing, right? I love it because
Thank
she's like,
you.
she's acting and, and I'm just kind of like, ooh, I like that. So I got lost in her TikTok, of course. And let me just ask you about your social media real quick. Do you only do acting on TikTok or do you mix them both? What do you do with your social?
Honestly, I started TikTok when COVID happened. I thought that's only for like this young generation, and I could not understand how they do all these transitions and tricks in TikTok. I was like, oh my God, I'm going crazy. But when COVID happened and business was shut down, photography, Hollywood was shut down, and all that, I was like, I'm learning TikTok. So it took me a day. I just learned and YouTubed and all that, and I started making my. I couldn't stop acting. I love
Right.
to create something, so I'm like, TikTok it is. If it's that's the way to do it, I'll do it. So I started TikTok like 3 years ago, but I have Instagram, I have Facebook, which they have different platforms. Like
Right.
Facebook is not really for, acting and
Mm.
they have different. So mostly I post my acting or my auditions or, a piece of the movie I did or something on TikTok and Instagram. So
Okay.
it's Shadi
And
Mary actress.
and you have something special going on in your photography, right? Tell us a little bit about that. And for those of you that are going to be interested about that, we're going to share the link. So if you're watching us on the YouTube channel, it'll be later on today. It'll be on the YouTube channel. And if you're listening to us in the podcast, you'll find it in the show notes. This podcast, the audio drops next week. So
Okay.
do you tell us about the 40 over 40?
Sure. Well, I will share the link to the book, my social media, and what I want to share right now for the special is called 40 over 40. So I'm photographing 40 women in their 40s and 50s, 60s, and even 70s. I had a couple. I am so excited. It's been such a beautiful journey, and it's not just been photographing these amazing women. I became friends with them. You are one of them, Marty, and we go out, with the ladies for drinks, and it's just been such an amazing journey. So basically, I will share that link as well, so you can put that in the link. Um, we do the consultation. You get your hair and makeup done, and you can use the studio wardrobe. You bring your own. We do a full guided fun photo shoot with music and sometimes wine if people want to. Not too much because that would affect their eyes, but and yeah, then we'll sit down and you look at all your amazing pictures, and it's just a fabulous, empowering move that I put together, like a photo shoot. So I'm pretty excited about that. So
That's great. Yes. So
for
thank you so much for that. Yes. And that's where I met this beautiful woman. And thank you so much for your time because I know you're a very busy lady. Thank you, my listeners. I'm so incredibly grateful. If you like this and are watching this video stream, make sure to hit the bell and subscribe and leave us a comment. Leave us a comment so that we can answer your comment. Personally, I still do that. If you have any questions for Shadi, you can find her, Shadi Ameri. You can find her on Instagram, shadiameri.com, I'm sure, right? Photography.com. If
Yeah,
you
that's my
Google her,
website.
yes, if you Google her name, you will find her. That's, I Googled her name to make sure that I was going to speak the right thing. And so you Google her name and she comes up. All things come up. So she's not hidden. She is an amazing actress and also an amazing photographer and an amazing woman. And I'm just so blessed. Thank you so much for saying yes to coming on to the podcast.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. I'm so honored.
Thank you. So, everybody, I will see you next time, which is remember that the podcast drops once a week, every Friday. And if I don't see you, you see me, then you will hear us on anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And have a beautiful day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you, Marty.
Thanks.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This episode brought to you by Celavive Hydrating and Lifting Sheet Mask. The Celavive Hydrating and Lifting Sheet Mask locks in intense moisture to perfectly prime your skin for restful sleep. Apply this relaxing hydration serum several times a week to pamper yourself and radiate your healthier looking complexion. Sheet masking is all the rage right now. Make it a regular part of your healthy skincare regimen today. Celavive Hydrating and Lifting Sheet Mask. Click the link below and get yours today.